Hello and welcome to this latest edition of Bulls on Parade Talk. I am your host, Joshua Sines. And last time we discussed four of the top quarterbacks in this class. And after 24 hours of sleeping on this thing, then I went back and I did some more research. And now I'm seeing this one guy on BattleRedBlog.com talking only two guys. Teddy Bridgewater and Blake Bortles. And for those of you that have not seen the last video where I'm breaking down the four quarterbacks, go ahead and check that out. But I want to take this time to kind of break down the two quarterbacks that were discussed in this article. That is Louisville quarterback Teddy Bridgewater and UCF quarterback Blake Bortles. Now, looking at these two guys, they both played in, especially this past college football season, they played in the same conference and played 7 common opponents. And Florida International, Temple, Rutgers, South Florida, Connecticut, Houston, and Memphis. Now, when you compare their stats against, with these shared opponents, they're pretty dead even. I mean, they both completed about 70% of their passes, threw for almost 2,000 yards. Yards per attempt, about 10 each. 9, 8, 10 each. And they barely threw pick. And their turnover ratio is pretty darn equal. It's about a 12 to 13 to 2, 12 to 3, something like that. So, and Bridgewater's completion percentage is higher, 70%. But Blake Bortles' yards per attempt is high, which means it's just a snitch higher. It's about half a yard higher, but that basically tells me one thing. It basically tells me that Blake Bortles threw more deep balls, which is basically what I said in the last episode when talking about Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles took a lot of shots downfield. He took a lot of intermediate to deep passes downfield than Teddy did. And that's where I'm going to next. Looking at these two, and the way that they played in their offensive systems, you have to wonder, is it going to affect it? And all of that was described in the last video. But Teddy Bridgewater, just to go overall, just to basically summarize what I said in the last video, Teddy Bridgewater, he threw well below the average number of screens, and screens often, inflate a quarterback's completion percentage. But he threw a lot of short passes. And while it was somewhat of a pro system, it was still they still played a lot of spread concepts. More so than UCF, I'll explain. And so while Teddy threw a lot more short passes, Blake Bortles threw a lot of intermediate and deep throws. So this basically, and the intermediate and deep throws are kind of evident as to what the NFL is going to ask a quarterback to do. Blake Bortles did not really throw a lot of deep passes, especially in his last year. Blake Bortles breaking him down. A lot of his throws were a lot of his attempts with all areas of the football field were pretty average. Just just a slightly small amount of deep. If you go look at the numbers, if you look at the percentages of the throws that he made, just a slight below average on the deep throws. But the point is, he spreads the ball. UCF asked him to spread the ball, to throw it all over the place. Throw it short, throw it intermediate, throw it long. But of course, although Blake threw the ball all over the place, Teddy was the more accurate guy. Aside from his deep throws, and aside from his deep ball accuracy, which I have no problem with, that's all because of his lack of arm strength. But that's fine. There are guys in the NFL that have above average arms. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, right? And even Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's one of those guys that anticipates. He beats you at the line of scrimmage. And that's the one thing about Teddy Bridgewater that I watched on film that really intrigues me about this guy. He has good mechanics, almost great, and anticipates very well. The way he throws the football and the way he throws the ball to a spot and his receivers, and he puts great touch on the football. That's the one thing that Jake says, and I say that too, because I've watched Teddy for about 2 years, and I love his command of the offense. Reminds me a lot of a guy like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Now, it's not to the extent of Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is the ultimate is the general. But just looking at Teddy and how he commands his offense, he is the only guy, and I truly mean this. Teddy is the one guy I would take if my only option was quarterback. I've said it, I'm on record, and I'm going to keep saying it. Teddy is the only guy I would take a chance on. Now, as far as Blake is concerned, Blake Bortles, when his mechanics are right, he reminds me a little bit of Ryan Tannehill when he came out of college. Ryan Tannehill came out of college with only, I think like 2 years. I think 2 years of college experience, I think. I'd have to go back and look. But, when he was coming out of college, there were some inconsistencies in his mechanics. Why? He wasn't experienced. But the thing is, when Ryan Tannehill's mechanics are right, he's one of the better quarterbacks. He's one of the better quarterbacks. And I agree with that. And now he was drafted 8th overall to the Miami Dolphins, and they're looking pretty good. Almost made the playoffs this past year, by the way. Just to keep that in mind, with the addition of Mike Wallace in that system in their offense, they were very close to making the playoffs. They had a better defense too. But anyway. The reason I bring up Ryan Tannehill is because I'm noticing this trend with Blake Bortles. With Blake Bortles, because of his lack of accuracy, it's due to his mechanics. He has the arm. Don't get me wrong. I watched Blake Bortles, especially in that bowl game against Baylor. He has the arm. He's got the arm to do it. To make any kind of throw. But the thing is, the reason that he was inaccurate was because of his mechanics. Poor mechanics. Jake does a great job of pointing this out. He says here in his article, quote, Bortles has the arm to make any throw, but sometimes misses throws due to poor mechanics. Bortles suffers occasionally from poor footwork and also falls away from his throws, especially on throws to his left. But something? But the good news, and he continues on saying here, quote, the good news for Bortles' mechanics and accuracy is that he shows flashes of doing it the right way, and the inconsistencies are of the variety that can be fixed. Now think about that for a minute. Focus on that last clause, on that last little clause, and the inconsistencies are of the variety that can be fixed. Basically, what he's saying is, he works on his craft. Who knows? Who knows what he's able to do? And just think about this. Bill O'Brien's a quarterback guy. If Bill O'Brien takes this guy, now I wouldn't take him first overall. I'm on record because of all that stuff, and we have yet to see what happens at the combine and his pro day and his other workouts. But I would still not take him first overall. If quarterback was the target for the first round, I would not take him number 1 overall. I am still on record saying Jadeveon Clowney is the better number 1 option. The best player. Because, just speaking hypothetically, just a little short tangent, just hypothetically, I believe the better player, if I were to put if I had a choice between either Teddy Bridgewater, Jadeveon Clowney, or Blake Bortles, give me Clowney. I still would take Clowney over Teddy. If Clowney wasn't in this draft, give me Teddy, first overall. If Clowney was not in this draft class, give me Teddy, first overall. That's if quarterback was the option. If quarterback is what the Texans are thinking about taking number 1 overall, give me Teddy. I want Teddy. He's a lot more polished. He's a lot more consistent. And he's very mobile. And he's not the most mobile, but he's mobile enough. Now, Blake Bortles is just he's got size. He's big. He can take a beating. Kind of like Andrew Luck. He's got an arm. He can run too. Now I'm very curious to see what he runs at the combine. That's what I'm waiting for. I want to see I want to see what guys like guys like Blake Bortles. I want to see their 40 time. But from what I saw at the bowl game, he's pretty good. He's pretty fast. He's pretty elusive too. But anyway, going back to Bill O'Brien, he's a quarterback guy. So, if Bill O'Brien decides to take Blake instead of Teddy Bridgewater, I'd be fine with that. Just don't take him number 1 overall. That's my issue. If the Texans want Blake Bortles, fine. I'm fine with that. Just don't take him first overall. He's not that high. Now, if the Texans, let's say my hypothesis is incorrect and they say Blake Bortles is their better player. Is better than Jadeveon and Teddy. That's their thinking. Who am I to question? I'm sure if they get it wrong, we're all going to be questioning it, right? Much like we did with David Carr. But we're looking for the third. We're looking at it forever. It kind of. Last time we had the first. The first time we had the first pick in 2002, David Carr. That didn't work out very well, but it wasn't all his fault. But my point is, we have to build a team around the quarterback. If we're gonna take a quarterback in the first round. Now, could there be a possibility perhaps where we get we get a defensive player first overall, and then we trade into the first round, or trade early, or or trade up in the second round, or either trade up in the second round or trade up to get back into the first round to get another first round pick. I don't know. I'm just saying these are just things that are possibilities. So, the Dallas Cowboys did it. The Dallas Cowboys did something similar when they got Morris Claiborne. So who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen if the right deal is made. So we'll see. But going back to, I would be fine, if his footwork, with all these mechanics issues that are fixable, and Bill O'Brien decides, give him to me, I'll fix him, fine. I'm all for it. Who am I to... if Bill O'Brien says he can fix it, I say go for it. If he believes Blake Bortles is his guy... And by the way, Bill O'Brien is more familiar with Blake Bortles. His mentor, Michael Leary, recruited Blake. So we'll see. There is familiarity there. So that's going to be an interesting story leading up to this draft. Another thing that was pointed out in the article in the previous episode and in Jake's article right here is their play under pressure. Their pocket presence. Their pocket presence while being rushed or when there's no rush. When there's no blitz or when they're not under pressure. And the one guy that stood out to me while watching him on TV, watching his film and seeing the numbers and seeing the stats, Teddy Bridgewater just jumps out at you. If you look at this, if you look at this, and I'm reading the numbers right in front of me, the first thing that Jake points out, it says right here, quote, while under pressure, which in this case is defined as being forced to move due to the pass rush. So when both of them are moving, 63% completion percentage, both of them. And basically that tells you that, as Jake points out here, that they're not looking to run. They're almost like Russell Wilson, especially if you watch him in the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is able to make plays outside the pocket, but he's not looking to run. Every time he's keeping his eyes downfield. So that's something that makes me optimistic about both these guys. And the one thing about the NFL is that the difference between NFL and college is the fact that majority of the time it's going to be a money pocket. Because if you're going to be facing teams like the 49ers, the Seahawks, the 49ers or the Seahawks, it's going to be money in that pocket. You have to be able to have good pocket presence or avoid the rush. So, and watching these two on film, they have great pocket presence. And in comparing these two, Teddy Bridgewater has the advantage and here's why. I'm looking at these two guys, but the stat that really jumps out is that when Teddy Bridgewater, under normal conditions, when there's no rush, under normal conditions, when he's not blitzed, he completes 78% of his passes. But here's the thing that really got my attention on Teddy. When he's blitzed, he completes 77% of his passes. Think about that for a minute. That is unbelievable. Now, I'm sure all the skeptics are going to go, well, who did he play? Who cares? He didn't play in the SEC. Fine. Fine. But who did he have around him? And keep this in mind. UCF was pretty good this year. Now they played the Houston Cougars. The University of Houston led college football in turnover margin. In turnovers. For a while, Teddy struggled against the University of Houston. He struggled against Central Florida. And heck, U of H played Central Florida. And that game went to the wire. Every time the University of Houston, and I know because I watched both those games, and I'm a Houston Cougar, when Houston played both these guys, it came down to the last play. Teddy and Blake have had their share of competition too. While it's not SEC caliber, it's not like Teddy or Blake had a guy like Robert Woods or Marquise Lee to throw to, or he didn't. Just something to think about. Or he didn't have a guy like Jake Matthews or Eric Fisher, as an offensive lineman. Right? So we'll see. So, and again, so that's the whole thing about Teddy that jumps out at me. But the one other thing that stands out, but if we want to talk about the other thing that stands out, Blake Bortles' athleticism. He is very athletic. When he was recruited, a lot of schools, I'm reading here from Jake, he points out, and this is very interesting. He points out that a lot of other schools wanted to make him a tight end. And the way that he moves, and when I watched him run, he reminds me of a tight end. He has that athletic ability. So, and the closest comparison I would give Blake is Big Ben Roethlisberger, right? So, and also he didn't run unnecessarily. He's always keeping his eyes downfield. He's not looking to run. When he scrambles or he's making moves outside the pocket, he's always looking within the offense. And UCF ran a pro-style system. Ran a ton of pro concepts. So I have a feeling. So after reading this article, I don't know. We'll see. Well, who knows? Maybe Bill O'Brien says neither of these guys. Maybe Bill O'Brien says, you know what? Let's take Jadeveon Clowney and get a quarterback later. He probably thinks Blake Bortles is going to be there. He probably thinks he for all we know, he might be thinking that Blake and Teddy won't be and will still be available by the time the 33rd, by the time the first pick in the second round comes by. Who knows? And like I pointed out earlier, we could always trade back into the first round. We could get Jadeveon Clowney first overall, and then we could get back into the first round by trading, next year's pick, another one of our picks in this draft. There's all kinds of things. Now I don't know what I would give up to get back into the first round late. To get back into the first round. I'm just saying that all of this is possible. So you can almost guarantee that the media is going to be just talking about this forever until draft day comes, and then we'll see what the Houston Texans decide to do. But I would not be surprised. But those two, but after reading this and after further looking at the numbers from yesterday's episode in that article that I shared with you guys, those two, I would take a chance on. Give me Teddy or Blake. One of those two. I will be happy with either of those two. Because I want to see give me those two. I want to see what Bill O'Brien does with these guys. I want to see what kind of team is built around these two guys in their first year. You know, we still got a defense. O-line needs some work. And, you know, make some adjustments on defense, especially with Romeo Cornell coming in. And he's probably going to adjust to how the NFL has changed. But after further evaluating, I've narrowed my choice. I still think Teddy Bridgewater is worth the number one pick if Jadeveon Clowney wasn't in this class. But I still stand by what I say. Because he's in this class, let's take Jadeveon. Let's always take Jadeveon number one. And if we're looking for a quarterback, and if we're going to get a quarterback, let's get one of these two guys. Let's get Teddy or Blake. So, that's what I have to say about this article. Very well written, very in depth, as well as everything else that has been going on. And I'll be sure to give you guys the link to that article in the description of this video down below for you guys to read and see for yourself, to basically see what I'm talking about. And this is it's going to be a long off season for the Texans. It's already been quite an eventful one so far. New head coach, new coaches. Now we gotta deal with players leaving, coming in, all that fun stuff, and it's all gonna be leading up to hopefully a quick turnaround. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Bulls on Parade Talk. I'm your host, Joshua Sines, providing you Houston Texans coverage as quickly as possible. And always be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Speaking of that, tell me in the comments section, if you had a choice between these two guys, who would you take? Who do you want as your quarterback? Do you want Teddy? Do you want Blake Bortles? Or do you want somebody else? Tell me in the comments section. As always, this is Joshua Sines from another episode of Bulls on Parade Talk, signing out.